Representative Henderson,
Here.
Representative Larson, Representative Sherwood,
Here.
Representative Stiff,
Here.
Representative Walters,
Here.
Representative Swanitzer,
Here.
Chairman Nicholas.
Okay, first up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have before you House Bill 33, mining operation blasting requirements. And the main reason it's referred is for the appropriation, and apparently the appropriation has caused a lot of angst among people with that level. I'm going to let Representative Conrad explain the reason for that appropriation, the reason for the amount, as I have another meeting at the same time as this one and haven't mastered that being in two places at once yet. Representative Conrad can explain it. I would ask the committee to keep the appropriation in there. There is very good reason for it. This is a bill that's been requested by industry as their protection and protection for private property rights. So with that, I'll turn the explanation over to Representative Conrad, and I will go to my next meeting.
Chairman Nicholas, thank you and members of the committee. As mentioned previously, this is related to House Bill 33 and specifically rather the fiscal note as it relates. As you can see in that fiscal note, the totality of that value was $502,846. And you can see the respective fiscal years in 25 and 26 behind that. The purpose of my testimony today is to explain to you why this is necessary and why I think this is justified. I guess to underscore my messages first, this is specifically as it relates to protecting public safety. Now, as we speak today, there is one blasting engineer through the state, one blasting engineer who takes care of all the requirements to determine the shot, the velocity, the frequencies, et cetera, so forth, as it relates to coal mines. So this position that we're asking for in this bill is much different than a blaster. A blaster comes and drills and drops and blasts. This position specifically is to take care of, more importantly, to ensure that when we blast a frequency spectrum in that attenuation and or appropriation does not impact surrounding buildings, communities, et cetera, so forth, based on the different properties of obviously the soil underneath. So as we speak today, there's approximately, as I refer to my notes, disappointingly, I should share, that there is no blasting requirements for non-coal activities. So the only regulation we have out there for blasting at this point is for coal, in terms of the requirements, the certifications, the trainings, et cetera, which this position would undertake for the non-coal. So the bill obviously does have that provision to ensure that we do have standards. Again, as President Burkhardt has spoken about, that is a necessity to not only protect the public, but also the industry and reduce liabilities and so forth. So if I may, this position will address the over 50 new mines or the expansions of mines that we have now. Specifically, as we talk gold, we have limestone, we have rare earths, bentonite, nickel, copper, lithium, and so others as well. And it's interesting that as we talk about this, and I apologize for my numbers, right now there are 50 non-coal. So that's 50 non-coal encompasses all those as we speak. That would require this blasting plan and or regulation. And with the oversight of this blasting engineer, this does not include, may I be clear, this does not include in those 50 which I just shared with you, the new gold mine, nor does it include the limestone core expansion and others as we speak, specifically uranium. So this person would oversee that, as well as a multitude of other functions, ensuring that licensing is correct, ensuring that all potential blasts are taken care of for absorption rates, et cetera. So the question then I think that the committee will have is, how come it's 502,000 or 301 and 201? So respectfully, Mr. Chairman, how would you like me to proceed? Do you want me to give you sort of an itemized list on what those monies encumber? I shall. As we see, the personal cost and benefits is about $138,624 both years. That is the salary of this person who would be a statewide person to manage those 50 mines I just mentioned outside of the coal. This would be non-coal. He would manage those. So that reflects his salary and benefit costs at $138,000 a year. One of the concerns that I had as I began this journey is that does this DEQ have the opportunity to even hire someone? They do. They have identified a person that would, with the requisite engineering, but also this person does include licensing. So he has a number of licenses he must carry and hold. So that value you see there is 138. The $147,000 caught some attention to obviously a lot of folks. This does include the purchase of a vehicle, allow this engineer to travel throughout the state, manage, develop, certify, et cetera. Within that also is the seismic equipment. The seismic equipment is fairly expensive to ensure, again, the safety of the public. There will be 3 devices that are taken care of. That overall includes the recalibrations, the certifications, and the updating of the respective softwares. So as you look at that value there, that includes, and that's why you see the initial 147 drops to 47,000. That's the capital expense on the 147, which drops again by 100,000, and that 47 in 2026 is specifically for the recertifications, the realignments, licensings, et cetera, so forth and so on. So you can see the central data costs are fairly minute in this case at 1,200, and specifically the contractual services, which may be necessary to employ or deploy blasters and or other areas, is there as well. So that rolls up to 301,000 in fiscal year 25 and is decreased down to 201. One subject that we spoke about specifically, what is the return on investment? We believe wholeheartedly with the increase of mineral production, whether it's uranium, gold, limestone, or any of those other rare earths that I spoke about, the return on that specifically as you look at bentonite, the bentonite production is going off and the royalties and the taxes from that equate to a number of millions of dollars each year on behalf of the state. So with those remarks and conveyances said, Mr. Chairman, I stand by for any questions.
Thanks. John, you refer to the 50 non-coal mines. Are they currently in operation or are they anticipated or possibilities? Of those 3 categories?
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Representative Larson. Yeah, as we speak now, as I look at my notes real quickly, the new gold operation has the permit. But at this point, the lime core expansion is not permitted yet, but is in the permitting process. And then as we talk about the other ones, this time they would require blasting plans. So those are already have, in this case, permits that are functioning and moving forward.
So, and I didn't quite track. So I heard you say 50. And so all 50 are permitted?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
From the Department of Environmental Quality.
Okay.
Other questions? So I do have a couple questions. Number one, I'm curious where did this draft come from? Did you have it drafted? And did DEQ review it? And
No, so the draft came to the Minerals Committee, which was drafted by, I believe, it's a Representative Burkhart.
And I'm just curious as to the specificity of some of the codes that you list that are listed in here, particularly like on page 5 as an example. If those codes change, or if there are amendments to them, or if they're revised, then there's no provision how you deal with that. And so to me, it doesn't make sense to be so particular. It just, and because standards change over time and we don't know, none of us know directly what those are incorporating in and what that really means and whether or not it's going to be officious or useful. We don't know. My other question is, we have 9 new positions already we're giving to the Department of Environmental Quality. 11 new. So this makes 12. So have you asked DEQ to prioritize of those? If we only give 11 positions, would this be a priority over other positions? That's my first question. Now, so I think we need to know the answer to that before we, move forward and run down this highway. Number 2 is, right now, if we hire an outside consultant to do this work, what would that cost over the next 2 or 3 to 5 years or 10 years? And would that be a better expense So we don't have an ongoing position there forever that's going to cost us, over a biennium, three or $400,000 a year. Was that question brought up in minerals, and did they have that discussion?
Chairman Nicholas, your first question in terms of priority, I have not asked that question, but I intend to and will do so. And I do want to just step back previously to that question you asked about on page 5, the respective and small I number 2, the applicable codes. We demonstrate those codes to ensure that there's legalities, their insurance, their certifications that we can ensure we're abiding by the most up-to-date. And part of that role would be for that certification to maintain any changes.
My whole point is that that's something DEQ should put in their rules and regs and not in the statute. It just makes more sense.
Thank you for that. Your second question, Chairman Nicholas, is the outside consultant. That question was not asked during our committee meetings about consultants. So I owe you 2 answers respectfully. One being the priority. If there's 11 positions, where does this rank? 1 or 11th or 10? The other one that I owe you an answer to in this committee is the outside consultants. I have my personal opinion on that, but more importantly, let me speak on behalf of the agency once that is accomplished.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead.
So Representative Conrad, just to reinforce a little bit what of the perhaps advice that that Chairman Nicholas has given you on that, referring to the International Fire Code, if you just put that, and the reason we're saying that is in our electrical and fire safety stuff where we have reference to the IBC, the International, currently in our statutes, it's defined by year, and that's changed. And we're having a heck of a time getting it upgraded in statute for a variety of reasons. Whereas if it was left out of statute, for example, in this, and have incorporate applicable standards provided in the International Fire Code, period, and not refer to the edition, the chapter, and the verse, because those do change over time, and then you could adapt that in rule and keep it current as it is, because we're stuck in a couple of places right now because we've done that.
Chairman Nicholas, Representative Larson, I think it's an outstanding suggestion, a very friendly amendment, which I'm sure happens.
So then I also on page 3 on limited mining operations, those are the small operators. I'm just curious if they should be under the same type of restrictions, if they're doing smaller blasting as they currently do without being administered through the DEQ.
Chairman, this is a great question, and my answer to that is absolutely. Because there's a number of these mines that are very close proximity, small in this case, close to residential areas, subdivisions, et cetera. As we speak now, as I look at my notes real quickly, there is one now within the earshot of the Kurt Gowdy Park. And this may be a small operator, and that's why we want to protect the entire basin, or more importantly, the entire state from damage, whether you're a large operator or a small operator.
Well, if you're small, that could put you out of business. That's my point.
Well, but John, isn't it accurate that all the associated mining permits and activities that we break them up between small mines and big mines, and all of that falls under the DEQ?
Chairman Nicholas and Representative Larson, absolutely accurate.
Okay, further questions? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. What's being done now to make sure what we're trying to achieve? I get you want to codify it, but what's being done now by DEQ in this area? That this FTE, safety, right?
Chairman Nicholas, Representative Henderson, it's a great question, and that's why we paused for concern. I don't want to share that this is the Wild West, but in this case, there are no sideboards as we commonly use here as it relates to blasting and the requirements therefore. So although they may have a blasting permit or a blaster, there's no regulatory requirements in this case that protects the homeowner. And what we're trying to do is be in front of this proactively to ensure that we don't get into litigation, whether it's a foundation that cracks from a nearby mine and that homeowner then wants compensation for the repair of that respective foundation and accuses the mine that's nearby of doing so, there's no protection there. It's a litigation that occurs and then will delay the respective operator of the mine, whether that's gold, cobalt, or limestone, to go through this process. Would obviously delay the manufacturing and extraction of the ore and or it create expenses for legalities or the litigation that the homeowner has to pursue. And that's why we're trying to get in front of this. So everyone ensures, and if you notice within the bill, it actually requires consultation, communication, and documentation. And right now there is none.
Okay, further questions? We have, any other public comment? Closed public comment. Moved by Representative Walters, seconded by Representative Sherwood. Discussion?
Move to pass. Move to pass.
Move to pass. Roll call.
Representative Henderson,
Aye.
Representative Larson.
Aye.
Representative Sherwood. Representative Stith voted aye via absentee. Representative Walters.
Aye.
Representative Swanitzer,
Aye.
Chairman Nicholas.
No. Not till my questions are answered. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I will answer those questions for your committee. Thank you.
okay, next. Come on up. Good morning. Go ahead, please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee. I'm Dawn Williams, Deputy State Treasurer. The bill that you have before you today is State Funds Pool A Participation and Fund Limits. This is a bill that is brought to you by the Select Committee on Capital Financing and Investments. During some of our meetings this summer, we expressed to them that there was a lot of talk about the Pool A account and how we have several funds within that account that have very small balances. And that ideally, that there should be larger balances in those accounts to be a participant in Pool A. The committee agreed and put this bill forward and essentially says that any new funds added after July 1st, 2024, would have to have a minimum of $5 million in it to participate in Pool A. Furthermore, the bill removes some funds that are in Pool A that have a zero or de minimis balances. One of them has, I think, around $300,000. Two of the accounts have zero balances. Those are repealed on page 4 in section 2. And one of them is the unclaimed property account. There had been a couple of years ago, the unclaimed property account was authorized to invest up to 50% of the balance in that account. After it achieved a certain level, we've never been able to transfer anything into Pool A. The Youth Challenge account, endowment account has $0. And so Emergency Medical Services is the one that has, I think, around $300,000. Is that right? Or is that? Oh, 78,000. Thank you, Katie. So those have all been removed. Then the committee decided that they actually wanted the public television account and the I think it's the State Fair account to remain in Pool A, and then added appropriations to this bill to make those accounts be up to the $5 million threshold that is established in section 1. I have Katie Smith here, my CFO, and our Deputy Chief Investment Officer, Caleb Simpson, also here to answer any questions you may have.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I sit on the capital committee, but it's been a long time since we had these bills in front of us, at least a day. On page 2 in the new language, so you're going to maintain a cash balance. We want cash balance and market balance. Why do we choose cash balance versus market balance or market value? Excuse me. Just making, like the bill, just making sure we're using the right terminology that is easy for you guys to be able to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Walters, that's a great question. We do not track market value at a fund level, but more of a pool level. And so cash balance is way more appropriate and easier to track for us to maintain, to make sure that there's enough money in the pool for investments. So cash balance is correct.
But it's not, it's not in cash, is it?
It is. So it would be, Mr. Chairman, it is a cash balance. And that is what we use for our cost basis for those investments. So we're saying having at least 5 million at a cost basis for those investments.
But a cost basis is a lot different than cash balance. That's what I'm understanding.
Cost basis is cash balance for us. Everything is at a cash rate and that's cost for us.
Okay, other questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Then we move on to page 3. Just as a reminder here, what are we doing with the emergency funds for the water accounts? Water, emergency projects, water.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Walters, so there's a sub-account within the emergency water projects account. This voluntary pool program sub-account, it has $0 in it. And so that was one of the ones that we suggested being removed from Pool A. So the emergency water projects accounts is still in Pool A, but this sub-account is not.
So this bill's been around for a little bit, hasn't it? Because this was still, I think we started this bill when I was chairing CapFin. Because
Mr. Chairman, I don't recall that's the case. This is my first.
maybe I sat in on the meeting when it did this.
Mr. Chairman, you probably had this idea a long time ago.
Well, I remember, I think my vice chair here throwing in the extra money to raise them up to 5 million.
You were sitting in on the meeting.
Yeah,
You had it here.
that's right. That's what I mean.
In October.
Yeah. Okay.
That is great.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, any public comment? Closed public comment, the motion on the bill.
Bill, second.
Moved by Representative Walter, second by Representative Larson. Discussion. Question, roll call.
Representative Henderson,
Aye.
Representative Larson.
Aye.
Representative Sherwood. Representative Stith voted aye via absentee. Representative Walters,
Aye.
Representative Swanitzer,
Aye.
Chairman Nicholas.
Aye. Okay, thank you a lot.
Have a good day. See you.
Thanks. Keep up the good work.